Picture a family table, Bronze Age, evening light, bread, lentils, a clay cup. Now a picture list, ancient, carved into law. Some animals you may eat, others you may not. The pig is forbidden, the camel too. Shrimp, crab, the catfish in the river, all forbidden. But why? Why would the maker of heaven and earth care what sits on a plate? This is one of the oldest puzzles in the Bible, and the answer is stranger and deeper than most people think. Open the book of Leviticus, chapter 11. When I teach this, I call it the chopsticks chapter. It helps my students remember it. The rules sound simple at first. A land animal must do two things. It must have a split hoof, and it must chew the cud. A sheep qualifies, a goat qualifies, a cow qualifies. The pig does not. It has a split hoof, but it never chews the cud. The camel fails too. It chews the cud, but its foot is a soft pad. For water creatures, the test is fins and scales. So, fish are clean, but shrimp, eels, and shellfish are not. For birds, the text simply names the forbidden ones: eagles, vultures, owls, the hunters, and the scavengers. One pair of words appear repeatedly: clean, unclean, in Hebrew, tahor and tame. For centuries, people have asked one question: what is the rule behind the rules? The most popular answer is hygiene. Maybe the pig carried disease. Maybe shellfish spoiled in the heat. It sounds reasonable, but it does not hold. The text never mentions sickness. Not once. And Israel's neighbors ate these same foods for centuries, with no special plague. The hygiene idea is a modern guess. It is read back into an ancient book. The real answer lies somewhere else. It lies in how Israel saw the whole world. To see what made Israel different, look at the nations around her. In Mesopotamia, food rules followed the calendar. Priests kept long almanacs. On one day, do not eat fish. On another, avoid pork. On another, no garlic or leeks. Break the rule, and a demon might strike. You might lose a tooth. You might face a lawsuit. These taboos shifted day by day. They were not permanent. They were a calendar of fear. In Egypt, the rules were local. The fish that was sacred in one city was dinner in the next. The perch belonged to a goddess in one town. The pig was tied to Set, the murderer of Osiris. Priests avoided pork in horror, yet common families raised pigs and ate them. In the Hittite Empire, purity guarded the temple door. Dogs and pigs were chased from the sacred kitchen. The clay pot they touched had to be smashed. Yet the same Hittites used puppies in magic. A live puppy was pressed to a sick body to lick up the illness. 3 great cultures. 3 different systems: calendar, myth, and threshold. Now look at Israel. Her system was unlike any of them. It was permanent. It never changed with the day. It was universal. It reached every home, not just the temple, and it was stripped of myth. No demons, no local fish gods, no magic puppies. Something new had entered the world. So where did the logic come from? Many scholars point back to the very first page of the Bible, Genesis chapter 1. In that chapter, God creates by separating. He separates light from darkness. He separates the waters. He separates day from night. The Hebrew word is Badal, to divide, to set a boundary. And God fills 3 realms: the sky, the sea, and the land. Each creature is made according to its kind. In Hebrew, min. The fish swim, the birds fly, the land animals walk. Now return to Leviticus. The same words appear. The clean animals are the ones that fit their realm perfectly. A proper fish has fins, scales, and swims. That is a fish in full. But a creature that crawls in the water with no fins breaks the pattern. A bird should fly, yet insects that swarm on the ground blur the line. The anthropologist Mary Douglas gave us a famous phrase. "Dirt," she said, "is matter out of place." The unclean animal is the one that does not fit its category. It is an exception in a world built on order. To eat by these rules was to honor the order of creation. Every meal became a quiet echo of Genesis. This love of order ran deeper than food. The same law forbids mixing wool and linen in one cloth. It forbids sowing a field with two kinds of seed. It forbids yoking an ox and a donkey to one plow. At first, these seem random, but they share one idea. Keep the categories of creation distinct. Do not blur the lines that God drew. The plate was the most personal place where this was lived out. 3 times a day, the order of the world was honored at the table. Even a scholar can be humbled here. Mary Douglas built her first theory on this idea. Then, decades later, she changed her mind. She decided the laws were less about anomalies and more about reverence. Unclean animals, she came to believe, were not being insulted. They were being protected, set apart from the human plate, and left in peace. The mystery was richer than her first guess. The scholar Jacob Milgrom saw another layer. He noticed how the human diet narrows across the Bible. In Eden, people ate only plants. No blood was shed. After the flood, God allowed meat, but with one strict rule: do not eat the blood. The life of the creature was in its blood, and life belonged to God. At Sinai, the diet narrowed again. Out of all the animals, Israel could eat only a few. For Milgrom, this was not cruelty. It was mercy. It taught reverence for life. You may eat, the law said, but never forget that life is sacred. Even a simple meal carried moral weight. Still, no single rule explains them all. The rule behind the rules stays just out of reach. This brings us to the heart of the matter. What was the purpose of these laws? The Bible gives its own answer. And it is not about health. In Leviticus, God says, "Be holy, for I am holy." The word holy means set apart, different, belonging to God. The food laws were a daily training in being set apart. 3 times a day, an Israelite faced a choice. This is clean, that is not. And that small choice carried a large meaning. In one striking verse, God ties it all together. He says he has separated Israel from the nations. So, Israel must separate the clean from the unclean. The same word, Badal, is used for both. The animals on the plate mirror the people in the world. Just as God chose one people from many, the table reminded them each day who they were. This is why the laws reached every kitchen. In other nations, purity was the work of priests alone. In Israel, the whole nation was called a kingdom of priests. Scholars call this the democratization of holiness. The temple altar and the family table became one idea. Eating became worship. The home became a small sanctuary. That was the purpose. Not hygiene, not superstition. It was identity. It belonged. It was a life shaped, meal by meal, around a holy God. But did real people actually live this way? Here, archaeology gives us a fascinating story. For years, scholars had a simple theory. Find pig bones, find Philistines. Find no pigs, find Israelites. Pork seemed to be the great dividing line, but the ground told a more complex tale. When archaeologists dug deeper, they found something surprising. Many Canaanite towns in the highlands also avoided pigs, not just the Israelites. Across the whole region, pig bones were rare. The reason was partly practical. Pigs need water and shade. They are hard to herd in dry hills. So, at first, avoiding pork was also a matter of the land. The pig taboo was real. But by itself, it was not a simple ethnic badge. Then came the Philistines, and they were different. DNA from ancient pig bones revealed a clue. The Philistine pigs came from Europe. They were carried across the sea by the sea peoples. The Philistines raised them in great numbers. Pork became part of their coastal identity. So, a line was drawn. Coastal pork. inland restraint. Later, in the kingdom of Judah, that restraint grew stronger. At the southern fortress towns, pig bones nearly vanish. But the picture was never perfectly clean. In the city of David, in Jerusalem itself, archaeologists found something odd: the complete skeleton of a young pig inside an elite Judean home. It was not butchered. It seems the house collapsed in an earthquake and trapped it. The family was Judean. Their names were Hebrew. And still, a piglet lived in their home. The lesson is humble and human. Even where the rule was strict, life was messy. People are never as tidy as their laws, and in the worst of times, the rules bent. During the final siege of Jerusalem, when the people were starving, the bones tell a desperate story. Pig bones rise. Donkey, dog, and even rodent bones appear, with butcher marks. When survival was on the line, the boundaries broke. Here, scholars divide. Some argue the dietary code was written down late to forge a national identity under pressure. In their view, a practical habit slowly hardened into a sacred law. Others read the text as it presents itself. The law was given through Moses, at Sinai, long before. In that reading, the archaeology shows a people who already knew the rule, mostly kept it, and sometimes failed. The evidence alone does not settle the question. But both sides agree on one thing. In the end, this single line of diet had become a defining mark of the people of God. There is one more turn in the story. In the wilderness, every animal killed for meat was brought to the sanctuary. But once Israel spread across the land, that was impossible. So the book of Deuteronomy made a change. Now, a family could slaughter at home, in any town, for any meal. The blood was simply poured out on the ground, like water. The everyday table was set free from the temple. Archaeology even shows old local altars being shut down and buried, just as the reform demanded. Step by step, the home itself became the place where holiness was lived. So what about today? Do modern Jews still keep these rules? Many do. The whole system is called Kashrut. Food that is permitted is called kosher. Observance varies widely. Some communities take great care with every detail. They separate meat from dairy. They buy only certified food. Others keep the broad lines. They avoid pork and shellfish, but little more. And some keep almost none of it. But for millions, the ancient table is still alive. The same separation. The same memory. And what about Christians? Here, the story takes a sharp turn. In the Gospels, Jesus is questioned about purity. He moves the focus from the plate to the heart. What goes into a person does not defile them, he teaches. What comes out of the heart does. The Gospel of Mark adds a quiet, world-changing note. In saying this, he declared all foods clean. Later, the Apostle Peter sees a vision. A sheet full of unclean animals descends from heaven. A voice tells him to eat. Peter refuses. But the voice replies, "What God has made clean, do not call unclean." Peter soon learns the vision was not really about food. It was about people. The wall between Jew and Gentile was coming down. Soon after, the early church gathered in Jerusalem. They decided that Gentile believers need not keep the food laws. So, most Christians today do not follow Kashrut. For them, the deeper purpose remains. But the marker has changed. The separation is now of the heart, not the plate. So, we returned to where we began. Why did the Creator care what was on a plate? The answer was never really about germs. It was about people learning to belong to God. It was a daily, physical reminder. You are set apart. You are chosen. You are His. Every meal became a small act of worship. Every kitchen became a quiet sanctuary. a scattered family of former slaves became a nation with a soul. And that, in the end, is the hidden logic of clean and unclean. Not a code of health, but a way of remembering who you are. In our next episode, we go back to the source of it all. What is the Torah? What does it really say? Who wrote it? And how? And how do its 5 books fit together as one story? That is where we turn next.